Since the dawn of humanity, there has always been a mystery surrounding the boundaries between the visible and the invisible world. Ancient accounts speak of hidden passages, secret portals that would connect Earth to realms beyond our understanding. In old Gnostic texts, we find an intriguing description of the Archons, beings who would not only inhabit these concealed dimensions but also control the very structure of the reality we live in. Many believe these portals were sealed millennia ago, while others argue that they remain active and that certain secret societies still possess the knowledge to open them. But if these portals truly exist, where are they? What happens when someone crosses to the other side? And more importantly, who or what is waiting on the other side? Since ancient times, humanity has questioned whether what we perceive with our five senses is truly all that exists. Could we be living within an illusory system designed to keep us trapped? Gnostic texts suggest that we are. According to these writings, the Archons are interdimensional entities responsible for manipulating our perception of reality, distorting our consciousness, and preventing us from reaching a higher level of spiritual knowledge. But what is the true origin of these beings? In the discoveries of the Nag Hammadi Library in Egypt, unearthed in 1945, the apocryphal Gospel of John describes the Archons as flawed creations of a demiurge named Yaldabaoth. This being, depicted as arrogant and ignorant, is said to have created a false material world, imprisoning human souls within an illusory reality. This idea echoes, in a way, Plato's philosophy, particularly the allegory of the cave, where prisoners see only shadows cast on the wall, believing them to be the entirety of reality. What if our own perception of the world is just an illusion orchestrated by these entities? In Christianity, we find passages that suggest the existence of hidden forces governing the world. The Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Ephesians 6:12, warns, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." These words indicate that invisible entities influence our existence, a notion that aligns with the Gnostic idea of the Archons. But if these beings truly manipulate humanity, how do they do it? One of the ways suggested in Gnostic texts is through mental and emotional control. The Archons are said to be masters of illusion, sowing fear, discord, and ignorance to keep humanity under their dominion. This could explain why ancient civilizations possessed such deep spiritual knowledge, only for it to be suppressed throughout history. Could the Archons be responsible for erasing this ancestral wisdom? Another intriguing point is the relationship between the Archons and modern accounts of alien abductions. The renowned religious history scholar John Lash argues that the Archons may be linked to the entities described in modern ufology. He suggests that the so-called Greys, the Grey aliens, are manifestations of these interdimensional forces. This would explain why abductees report experiencing an oppressive form of mind control during their encounters. Could we be dealing with a spiritual phenomenon disguised as technological advancement? Furthermore, Jewish Kabbalah describes beings known as Qliphoth, who dwell in the lower spheres of the Tree of Life. These entities are considered spiritual parasites, feeding on human vital energy. The parallel with the Archons is striking, as both seem to act as predators of human consciousness. But why do some occult traditions attempt to summon these entities? Looking back to the Middle Ages, we find accounts of alchemists and magicians seeking to contact intelligences beyond the physical world. The medieval grimoire The Key of Solomon, for example, teaches methods for invoking spirits, some of which are described in ways that resemble the Archons. Could these grimoires be attempts to open the portals connecting our world to theirs? The idea of a universe governed by invisible beings also appears in Eastern cultures. In Hinduism, for example, the Asuras are described as entities that interfere with human destiny, attempting to lead souls away from the spiritual path. In Islam, the jinn play a similar role, being entities that exist in a parallel dimension and can interact with humans through specific portals. Could the Archons simply be a different name for a force recognized by many cultures throughout history? If we accept the existence of these beings, a fundamental question arises. Where are the points of contact between our world and theirs? Various historical accounts suggest that specific locations exist where the barriers between dimensions are weaker. But is it possible to open a portal intentionally? If interdimensional portals exist, what exactly makes them possible? Are they natural phenomena, the result of occult rituals, or even unknown scientific experiments. For centuries, accounts of portals have appeared in different cultures and traditions, but few address the actual mechanism behind their activation. What would allow passage from one plane to another? This question is crucial because, throughout history, certain locations seem to have been deliberately chosen as points of contact between dimensions. One of the most intriguing theories suggests that portals are not just anywhere, but are located at strategic points on Earth where magnetic and energetic forces converge. Ancient civilizations seem to be aware of these places and built temples, pyramids, and structures aligned with these forces. Some researchers believe that constructions such as the Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, and even Sumerian ziggurats were erected in areas of strong electromagnetic activity, as this type of energy could influence the opening of passages between dimensions. But how did they know this? Could it be that they possessed knowledge about the nature of reality that is now lost? Beyond location, another essential piece of this puzzle lies in vibrational frequency. Some spiritual and occult traditions claim that specific frequencies can alter the structure of reality. This can be observed in shamanic rituals, where the sound of drums, mantras, or chants induces altered states of consciousness, allowing practitioners to contact other planes of existence. But what if these vibrations not only altered human perception but also the very fabric of spacetime? Modern scientists already know that matter, at its core, is energy vibrating at specific frequencies. What would happen if certain vibrations could destabilize the barrier between dimensions? This could explain why some secret rituals include specific chants and the use of instruments like bells and Tibetan singing bowls, which produce frequencies that seem to interact with the surrounding reality. The Bible contains hints that supernatural events may be linked to these dimensional openings. The story of the prophet Elijah, for example, describes how he was taken to heaven in a chariot of fire, 2 Kings 2:11. The curious detail is that Elijah did not die. He simply vanished before his followers. Does this suggest that he passed through a portal to another reality? Ezekiel also had an intriguing vision, a massive whirlwind, accompanied by a celestial structure described as a wheel within a wheel, Ezekiel 1:16, something many interpret as a possible interdimensional opening. Could these accounts be describing a phenomenon we now refer to as a portal? If portals can be opened through the right location and proper frequency, there is also a third crucial element: activation. In various esoteric traditions, specific rituals are necessary to manipulate the forces governing these passages. The medieval grimoire The Testament of Solomon, for example, details methods for invoking and controlling interdimensional entities, which can be interpreted as an attempt to open and close portals. Kabbalistic texts speak of spiritual keys that can be used to access parallel realities, while ancient Hermetic practices mention symbols and sigils that serve as markers for entering and exiting different planes. Could this be why secret societies throughout history have been so interested in these rituals? In the 20th century, experiments may have been conducted that relate to portal openings. The most famous of these was the Philadelphia experiment, in which military tests allegedly made a ship invisible to radar but with catastrophic side effects, including reports of time distortion and teleportation. Another intriguing case involves experiments at CERN, where particle collisions may be creating small ruptures in spacetime. CERN scientists themselves have mentioned the possibility of discovering hidden dimensions through this research, raising a disturbing question. What if portals have already been opened without our knowledge? The existence of interdimensional portals cannot be dismissed when we analyze the convergence of spirituality, occultism, and science. Patterns repeat across different traditions, and accounts suggest that these passages were used in the past. But if portals can be opened, another dilemma arises. Who or what controls these gateways? Could it be that certain forces act as guardians of these passages, allowing or preventing their use? If interdimensional portals exist, then an inevitable question arises. Who or what controls these passages? Accounts of portals are always accompanied by stories of entities that watch over, protect, or prevent passage between worlds. Some believe these beings act as cosmic sentinels, while others suggest they are entities that feed on our ignorance and keep us confined to this reality. But how did humanity discover these forces? And more importantly, has anyone ever managed to deceive them and cross to the other side? The idea of interdimensional guardians is not new. Since the earliest human writings, there are records of beings that watch over the gates between planes. The Book of Enoch, one of the most enigmatic apocryphal texts, describes the Watchers, angels originally assigned to guard the boundaries between worlds, but who ended up teaching forbidden secrets to humanity and were consequently imprisoned in hidden dimensions. According to tradition, these fallen angels may still influence certain regions of the world, and some portals might be under their dominion. But does this story suggest that, at some point, humanity had access to the knowledge to open portals and that this access was deliberately taken away? In medieval occultism, there are numerous accounts of rituals involving negotiation or direct confrontation with these guardian entities. One of the most famous is the portal ritual at Boleskine House, performed by Aleister Crowley in the early 20th century. He attempted to open a passage for communication with higher entities, but the process was interrupted, and reports claim that something came through the portal without being properly banished. This event supposedly caused a series of strange phenomena in the region, including shadowy apparitions and disturbances in reality. Did this ritual fail because Crowley was unable to close the portal, or because guardians prevented a complete crossing? Modern reports indicate that the presence of guardians can still be perceived in locations where portals supposedly exist. In caves deep within the Amazon, shamans recount that beings of light appear during their rituals to warn or test those who attempt to cross into other realities. Some of these entities are described as benevolent, while others are seen as spiritual predators that confuse and mislead dimensional travelers. Some believe this duality represents an invisible battle between different forces, some seeking to keep humanity confined, while others attempt to guide it beyond material illusion. But if there are entities protecting the portals, how have some individuals managed to cross? In Jewish mystical tradition, there are references to gates guarded by entities that require passwords or keys to grant passage. The Zohar, one of the most important Kabbalistic texts, suggests that certain vibrational codes, when pronounced correctly, can alter perception of reality and open protected portals. This concept mirrors the practices of various cultures, which use mantras or sacred words to access altered states of consciousness and transition into other dimensions. But are these words merely symbolic of meditative states, or do they hold real power capable of interacting with dimensional guardians? The Bible also mentions episodes where spiritual entities seem to act as gatekeepers between worlds. Beyond the cherubim guarding the entrance to Eden, there is the enigmatic case of Christ's transfiguration, described in the Gospels. In this event, Jesus ascends a mountain and, before his disciples, transforms into a figure of light and converses with Moses and Elijah, two prophets who, according to Scripture, were taken directly to heaven without passing through death. Some scholars believe this moment symbolizes the opening of a temporary portal, through which Christ connected to other realities. But what allowed this opening? Was it a spontaneous event or a controlled process known only to initiates? Another curious biblical account is that of the prophet Ezekiel, who described a vision of a celestial structure moving in complex geometric patterns, surrounded by living beings of indescribable appearance. This event, interpreted by some as an encounter with beings from another world, also suggests the presence of entities that oversee the boundaries between planes of existence. Could these beings be the same ones mentioned in spiritual traditions across the world? If portal guardians truly exist, this raises an intriguing question. Are they protecting humanity from something that exists on the other side, or are they preventing us from discovering a greater truth? There are reports of people who have attempted to open portals without proper preparation and suffered alarming side effects: hallucinations, altered perception of time, and even unexplained physical disturbances. Some of these experiences resemble those reported in alien abductions or encounters with supernatural entities, suggesting that portals may not just be passages between locations, but also connectors between states of consciousness. Modern science, though avoiding spiritual interpretations, already discusses the possibility of natural barriers between dimensions. Experiments on quantum consciousness indicate that the perception of reality can be manipulated by external factors, which could mean that portals are not only physical but also psychic. But if portals can be accessed through the mind, who or what is regulating these interactions? The existence of dimensional guardians opens up the possibility that not all portals are safe to cross. Some passages may lead to inhospitable realms or expose those who attempt to cross to hostile entities. But there are also those who claim that the guardians are not enemies but guides, waiting for humanity to reach the correct level of consciousness to finally cross. But how can one know which portals can be crossed without risk? And more importantly, who truly possesses this knowledge and may be using it for their own purposes? If interdimensional portals exist, how can they be activated? The answer to this question is hidden within esoteric texts, modern experiments, and practices passed down through secret societies. Across various cultures, we find accounts of priests, magicians, and occultists who claim to possess the knowledge to cross the barriers of reality. But opening a portal is not a simple act. Ancient texts warn that a passage should never be opened without a defined purpose, and, more importantly, without knowing how to close it. History is filled with accounts of rituals that spiraled out of control, leaving portals open with unpredictable consequences. But what are the actual methods used to perform such operations? Some of the oldest records regarding portal openings come from Hermetic manuscripts and medieval grimoires, which describe symbols and formulas for invoking entities from other dimensions. The Testament of Solomon, for instance, mentions that certain seals were used to control demons and spirits, allowing their entry and exit from our world. But these texts do not speak only of invocation. They emphasize the necessity of properly sealing the passage, as an uncontrolled open portal could allow unpredictable forces to enter. This detail also appears in the Sefer Yetzirah, one of the oldest Kabbalistic texts, which describes how specific letters and phonetic combinations could open pathways between worlds. This idea connects to a recurring notion in occultism: vibration and sound as keys to altering the structure of reality. In the 1940s, an actual attempt to open a portal was carried out by Jack Parsons, a scientist involved in the U.S. space program and a member of the Ordo Templi Orientis, OTO, an occult organization following the teachings of Aleister Crowley. Parsons, along with L. Ron Hubbard, the future founder of Scientology, conducted a ritual known as Babylon Working, which supposedly aimed to bring an interdimensional feminine entity into the physical world. During the ritual, unexplained phenomena were reported, including objects moving on their own and a sudden increase in UFO sightings in the region. Coincidence, or a side effect of an open passage? What makes this case even more disturbing is that Parsons failed to close the portal properly. He later reported that something remained open, and, interestingly, in the years that followed, the U.S. experienced a significant rise in unexplained phenomena, including the Roswell incident in 1947. This raises an unsettling question. Could certain attempts to open portals have long-lasting effects, leaving active rifts for decades? Beyond intentional rituals, there are accounts of portals being opened unintentionally. Parapsychologists suggest that certain individuals, especially mediums and those with high energetic sensitivity, may activate portals through sheer mental force. This could explain why some haunted houses or locations with intense paranormal activity seem to be connected to specific individuals. There are documented cases of people who, without any occult knowledge, reported encounters with entities after experiencing periods of extreme emotional stress or altered states of consciousness. This suggests that human consciousness may, inadvertently, serve as a natural key to interdimensional portals. If a portal can be opened through occult or psychic means, how can it be closed? Different spiritual and esoteric traditions offer varied answers. In Tibet, Buddhist monks perform specific rituals to seal spiritual passages that were improperly opened. In certain regions of Siberia, shamans claim that some passage points must be closed with offerings or specific rites, as open portals may attract entities that should not be in our plane. But what are the signs that a portal has been left open? People living near sites where portals are supposedly active report constant anomalies, such as shifts in time perception, objects disappearing and reappearing in different places, or even sightings of shadowy figures that seem to emerge from nowhere. Some of these cases have been documented by paranormal investigators, who have observed recurring patterns in these phenomena. If these signs indicate an open portal, does that mean there are locations on Earth where passages have remained active for centuries? There is evidence that certain occult groups have attempted to close portals in the past. In 1981, a group of ceremonial magicians in England conducted a ritual to seal a passage that, according to them, was allowing hostile entities to manifest in a rural area. The group used a series of Enochian symbols, angelic invocations, and geometric inscriptions on the ground. After the ritual, reports of strange occurrences in the region ceased. This case is one of the few recorded instances of an attempted portal closure, but it raises an important question. How many portals have been opened throughout history and never properly sealed? If some of these passages have remained active, this means that modern humanity may be coexisting with interdimensional access points without even realizing it. In certain parts of the world, there are reports of people who mysteriously disappeared after entering ancient ruins or caves, as if they had crossed an invisible barrier. Some of these stories come from the region of the Tellós Cave in Ecuador, a site surrounded by legends about beings that live on the other side. If natural portals exist, could it be that some of them are hidden within the planet's very geography? The rituals for opening and closing portals have always been shrouded in mystery, but one thing is clear: those who have attempted to manipulate them without proper knowledge have often faced unpredictable consequences. If ancient Egyptian priests, Tibetan monks, and modern occultists have all warned about the dangers of unstable portals, this suggests that the real danger is not just in crossing them but in what might escape into our world. But if there are portals that were never closed, a new question arises. Where are the still active passages, and who is using them today? If interdimensional portals exist, where are they? Some believe these passages can manifest spontaneously anywhere, while others argue that there are fixed points on Earth where reality becomes more unstable. But how can these places be identified? Are there patterns that reveal their locations? What intrigues paranormal researchers and even some scientists is that certain regions of the planet display recurring anomalies, such as unexplained disappearances, time distortions, and luminous phenomena. Could these be signs that interdimensional portals are still active? One of the locations that defy scientific understanding is Hessdalen Valley in Norway. Since the 1940s, reports of bright lights floating over the mountains have caught the attention of scientists and the military. Unlike isolated sightings, these phenomena are consistently recorded and documented by radar. Some theories suggest that the lights are caused by anomalous electromagnetic activity, but others believe Hessdalen is a place where the laws of physics behave differently, perhaps a natural portal that opens and closes irregularly. Could these lights be manifestations of an interdimensional phenomenon we have yet to understand? Another enigmatic site is Black Mountain in Australia, a region avoided by Aboriginal tribes for centuries. Known as the mountain that swallows people, there are countless reports of mysterious disappearances. Explorers, hikers, and even rescue teams who entered the area and were never seen again. Some individuals who managed to escape reported experiencing strange sensations of extreme disorientation, as if they had been transported momentarily to another place. This effect is common in accounts of natural portals, where people describe altered perceptions of time and space, as if the very structure of reality were momentarily distorted. What exactly is happening in these places? Beyond these remote regions, another recurring pattern throughout history is that ancient civilizations seem to construct temples and monuments precisely over points of high energy. Some theories suggest that these cultures not only knew about the existence of portals but also activated them through rituals and unknown technology. The existence of so-called ley lines, an invisible geometric network connecting sacred sites worldwide, reinforces this hypothesis. Machu Picchu, the Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, and the lost city of Nan Madol appear to be precisely aligned, forming what seems to be a hidden map of interdimensional access points. But what did these ancient civilizations know that modern science has yet to comprehend? If these ancient portals are still active, an inevitable question arises. Is someone using these passages today? Some theories suggest that certain secret groups possess this knowledge and use it to access realities beyond our own. One of the most enigmatic cases involves the Vril Society, a German organization from the early 20th century that claimed to have discovered a way to communicate with entities from another plane. Reports indicate that the group's leader, Medium Maria Orsic, received information on how to construct devices that functioned as dimensional keys. What's even more curious is that after World War II, Maria Orsic and her followers disappeared without a trace. Could they have activated a portal and simply left for another place? But portals are not necessarily used only by occult societies or governments. There are reports of spontaneous time anomalies where ordinary people disappear and reappear without any logical explanation. In Yosemite National Park, USA, hundreds of people have vanished over the past few decades, many under impossible conditions. Some children were found alive, but miles away in locations they could never have reached on their own. Others were never seen again. What makes these cases even more mysterious is that search dogs often lose the victim's scent entirely, as if they had vanished from reality in an instant. A similar phenomenon was reported in the case of Santiago Flight 513, an aircraft that supposedly disappeared in 1954 and reappeared decades later, completely intact, with no signs of aging on its fuselage. This case is widely debated, but other documented incidents describe pilots entering time distortion zones where instruments fail and spatial perception changes. If these events are real, they suggest that certain portals are not confined to the Earth's surface but can also manifest in the skies, interacting directly with aircraft and perhaps even spacecraft. Whether through ancient sites, natural phenomena, or secret experiments, the existence of interdimensional portals seems closer to reality than most people imagine. But the ultimate question remains: if these portals are still active, are they merely natural anomalies, or is there an intelligence behind their activation and use? If interdimensional portals can be opened, then an inevitable question arises: how can they be closed? This question may seem simple, but evidence suggests that sealing a portal is far more complex than merely ending a ritual or halting a paranormal experience. There are records of failed closure attempts that resulted in unexplained phenomena and even consequences that persisted for years or decades. If certain passages cannot be completely sealed, does this mean we are unknowingly coexisting with unstable portals? Occultists and paranormal researchers report that portals left open without control tend to attract unknown forces. In 1986, a group of paranormal investigators attempted to seal a supposed portal on the island of Poveglia, Italy, a place infamous for its history of plagues, violent deaths, and sightings of shadowy humanoid figures. After performing the closure ritual, the participants reported intense headaches, disturbing dreams, and a persistent sensation of being watched. The most frightening aspect was that, weeks later, apparitions on the island became more frequent, as if something had been provoked rather than sealed. This raises an intriguing question. Could it be that certain portals cannot be closed because they are already part of the fabric of reality? Some spiritual traditions warn that not all portals lead to safe places. There are accounts of portals that not only connect different dimensions but also parasitic realities, where entities feed on human energy. Occultist Kenneth Grant, a disciple of Aleister Crowley, theorized that some interdimensional passages lead to planes inhabited by beings that disguise themselves as spiritual guides but, in reality, drain the energy of travelers. This concept is similar to reports from people who have undergone near-death experiences, NDEs, and claim to have felt presences that seem to try to prevent them from returning to their physical bodies. If this is true, then opening a portal without knowing where it leads could be a far greater risk than we imagine. Another danger that few consider is that portals do not need to be in natural locations. They can be created within artificial structures. In the underground tunnels of Dulce, New Mexico, rumors suggest that secret experiments were conducted to try to stabilize portals and use them as gateways between dimensions. Some witnesses claim that certain levels of the base were sealed off due to anomalies that escaped from these attempts. Another fascinating theory suggests that the Vatican itself may have access to knowledge about hidden portals. Historical records mention secret underground passages beneath St. Peter's Basilica, and some sources claim that ancient manuscripts in the Vatican's secret archives describe rituals used to block interdimensional access points that humans were never meant to use. If this is true, does it mean the Catholic Church has sealed certain portals throughout history to protect humanity from something beyond our understanding? Beyond physical portals, an even more intriguing phenomenon exists: the possibility of psychic portals, accessible only through the human mind. For centuries, Tibetan monks and Amazonian shamans have claimed that certain states of consciousness can open passages to alternative realities. Astral projection, practiced in various mystical traditions, may be one way to access these dimensions without needing a physical portal. However, some individuals who have experienced projection report encountering invisible barriers, as if there were guardians protecting certain access points. Others claim that upon crossing these barriers, they felt a hostile presence watching their movements. This reinforces the theory that not all dimensions should be accessed and that some of these passages are guarded by unknown forces. If certain portals can only be closed using the correct knowledge, why do some remain active? There are places in the world where strange phenomena persist for centuries, even after attempts at exorcism or sealing rituals. In the Andes Mountains, tribes speak of gates to the spirit world that can never be fully sealed because they were created by forces beyond human comprehension. These stories are repeated in cultures around the world, suggesting that some portals may be part of a hidden network connecting different realities, one that cannot be closed by conventional means. But if such a network truly exists, who or what is using these passages? The most frightening question is whether some attempts to close portals might actually strengthen them. Physicist and paranormal researcher John Keel suggested that certain sealing rituals could work in reverse, stabilizing a portal instead of shutting it down. This could explain why, in some cases, paranormal activity increases after exorcisms or spiritual ceremonies. Could some of these practices be performed with incorrect information, making these access points even harder to block? If portals can be opened unintentionally, activated by secret groups, or even explored by unknown forces, one final question arises. If some of these portals can never be closed, are we unknowingly living side by side with parallel realities? If you're interested in exploring more about spirituality, I've specially selected a few videos full of deep knowledge and fascinating discoveries that you'll love. Just click on one of them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of self-discovery and spiritual learning. Your commitment to knowledge is the first step in transforming your reality.